Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you today with Marvel Comics Presents number 78. This is the next chapter of the Weapon X review that we've been going over. And this one's kind of rough because it really focuses on Cornelius, and not Cornelius, the Professor, and Logan. And one thing I love about 78 is I love this cover. Even though there's this white, blank background, you still kind of get this medical horror feeling, seeing Logan like this, where, his eyes are somber, got a little bit of blood, and then the ominous foreboding of the wires. But one thing that I really appreciate about this cover is the hair. Because whenever I draw, I always have trouble with the hair. So I like that Winsor Smith's able to use his inks and whatnot to get the wild man look, but still make it look semi-naturalistic while still looking, have a comic book flavor to it. Now, before we get into the story, now, with each of them, they always have this Marvel Comics Presents always has 4 stories in it. So the first one, which is Chapter 6, Weapon X, Logan has survived Experiment X first field test, teaching the professor more than he wanted to know. Story and art's Barry Windsor Smith. The letter is Jim Novak and Barry Windsor Smith. The other stories, Sergeant Fury, Dracula, Iron Man, and Hulk Selene. We're not going to get into these other 3. We just want to focus on what Windsor Smith created for Logan's backstory. Because before this, nobody really knew more than that, Wolverine, worked for Department H, worked for Alpha Flight, and all that stuff. So I like that we actually get to go further back. Now, Cornelius wants to have, not Cornelius, I always do this. The professor wants a long-range control so that, he can send Wolverine on missions. And there's a big back and forth between him and Cornelius. And Cornelius is getting really, really testy. Just kind of like, I don't care, whatever you want. Like right here. The professor even says, "Your dissent is noted, doctor. But let's not be testy. Whatever." And again, here's this medical horror that we are treated with. And and what makes it worse is Logan is semi-conscious. So he's feeling everything that they're doing to him right here. And Cornelius explains we have to keep him floating so we can trace the relay flux in his nervous system. And I couldn't even imagine, they've done horror stories like that where the doctors think the patient is completely under anesthesia, and they're knocked out enough that they can't talk, but they feel everything happen to them during surgery. And I don't even want to think about that. So this really adds to it, especially here at the end of it, because the Wolverine looks more puppet than man. And so all these relays and cables is to control him. And so they want to give the professor a demo. And he's like, "I understand, I don't need it, it's not necessary." And the dude's like, "Don't worry about it, I can do it, watch. You can control the claws. Like, this little piggy went to market. This little piggy, yes, I've got the idea, staff." And as you read through, you notice that the professor looks down on anybody that's not anywhere on his level. So he calls them staff. They have no names. And just, and then, these techs, the staff, there's ways that they try to blow off steam. And the professor, he's just not having it. He's just like, "Cornelius, your staff are fools and ignoramuses." Hey. But you can tell, we've noticed that the professor is not really human. So, for example, when he's trying to control Logan with all the stuff from his board, he goes, "You see, Cornelius, how the naturalistic movements imitate the human." So again, just whee vey. Now, if you remember, Logan almost choked the professor to death. And Cornelius is trying to tell him it's safe. Don't worry about it. And he goes, "I have to know if it's safe." And he's like, "He's safe. He's wired and shut down. If I'm safe, you fool. Me, Logan tried to choke me to death. Remember?" And again, Cornelius just kind of being a cool customer. It's like when the machine's turned off, he's dead meat. But you have to be sure, right? So go spit in his eye then, so you can be sure. I've had enough of this circus for one day. And they just, they're arguing. Logan's on the ground. And they're just like, whatever. They're more worried about themselves. And so the professor does something here that is just really rough to see. You're just like, my goodness, this guy is so far removed from humanity. And it's such a weird juxtaposition here between Logan and the professor. And that's why I like him as a villain, because he's very much the antithesis of what the X-Men stand for and just being a hero stands for. And that's why I was thankful that when we went over Wolverine number 50, I'm glad that they kind of reintroduced Hines and the Professor. But I'm still curious as, if they ever did reintroduce Cornelius or if he bit the big one during this series. So if you guys have enjoyed these Weapon X reviews that we've been going over, we definitely appreciate it if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know, especially since we had to start back over and we're slowly trying to get all our content back up on our club channel. So it's just slow going, but we shall persevere. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys can come to the channel, and we'd love to have a dialogue with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links in the description below. And if you have enjoyed this book, please make sure to support your local comic shop. At the time of this recording, if we're all still kind of locked in the house, call your LCS, your local comic shop, and see if either they can mail it to you, or some cases they can deliver it to your house or do curbside pickup. Now, if this is the future, everyone has fancy cars and they're coming back and watching this video, then please take a moment out of your day to go support your local comic shop. It'd be very much appreciated and a great way to keep reading going and to keep the doors open for your shops. So with all that said, I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.